Good morning, I'm Dilip Thakore, editor of EducationWorld.
Hi, I'm Summiya Yasmeen, managing editor.
Well, it's out, the much awaited part 1 of our Education World India Higher Education Rankings 2024-25.
Yes.
In
In this issue, we've ranked private autonomous colleges, government autonomous colleges, non-autonomous colleges, and private engineering colleges. So this part 1 features India's top 500 arts, science, commerce colleges, as well as engineering institutions. We'll tell you more about our cover story, methodology, what we've done, how we've ranked a little later on. But Dilip, should we tell them what we have in store in our other sections?
Yes, as usual, a rich fare.
Yes. In our editorial section, we've got 2 hot-hitting edits. The first one is on the India-China relations, why we need to reset Indo-China relation ties.
And get down to real negotiations. Because what we've said is that India is one of the largest importers of defense equipment in the world. And it's a well-known canon of economics that you can't have guns and butter. So it's time we paid some attention to the butter.
Yes, and our second editorial also is very important, Dilip, on a very hotly debated issue right now in the country on how to fund electoral parties and political parties, how to fund political parties, especially after the Supreme Court having scrapped the electoral bond scheme. So
Yes.
We've given some suggestions, I think, quite useful suggestions. We recommend you read the editorial and, debate with us give your own suggestions.
Indeed, I think we need a debate on these issues. There's inadequacy of debate.
Yes, indeed.
Which is not good for a democracy.
Yes.
Then in our education news, as usual, we have a roundup of important news from around the country. And from Delhi, we talk about the Jawaharlal JNU elections, students' elections, and where the opposition parties, a coalition of opposition parties, mainly left parties, have won the election.
Yes.
So is that a precursor, or is that a precursor for the general election coming up next month?
Well, time will tell.
Yes.
In West Bengal, we talk about, how perhaps education is going to be the Achilles heel for Mamata Banerjee as she goes into the Lok Sabha elections. There's still the mess about teacher recruitment because of the scams, a million cases happening in the Calcutta High Court. So very, I think, telling piece on the education record of, the Mamata Banerjee-led government in West
now
Bengal.
In his third term in office.
Yeah.
Then Karnataka, there's a big mess about exams for children in classes 5, 8, and 9.
Yeah.
5 to 8 in particular, which is forbidden by the
RT Act. But a
2009.
subsequent amendment done by the BJP government to the RT Act in 2019 allows for detention. So, like we say in our story,
allows for examination and detention.
Yes, and like we say in our story, I mean, governments in India are experts at creating problems where none existed. So this is entirely a government created problem. Board exams have been introduced for class 5, 8, and 9 students, but they haven't been conducted well, and now there's a big mess about evaluation. In fact, the Supreme Court, the latest in this saga is the Supreme Court has asked the government to withhold the results of these board exams.
Indeed.
Yeah.
And in Tamil Nadu, we talk about the perpetual problem with the center about the PM Shri program, which are schools selected for upgradation.
Yes.
And of course, the argument is that too few of them are included in this plan.
Yeah, and very
poignant
story we've done in Madhya Pradesh about a group of girl children of a government school trekking 80 kilometers to the Tehsildar's office to demand a Pakka school building.
Hardly demand, to beg for a Pakka school building and some renovations to their schools and classrooms.
Yeah. Dilip, this time we have a very, I think, interesting expert comment written by Dr. Krishna Kumar, former director of NCRT. He talks about the board exams mystique.
It's all about board exams,
Yes.
which we just talked about in Karnataka.
Yeah.
They've been reintroduced.
Yeah.
So he talks about why, taking that particular news spec, he says, why do we need these exams? Perhaps because of the failure of the continuous comprehensive evaluation scheme, which was recommended by the RT Act, and which, in his opinion, is perhaps a better alternative.
Yes.
Board exams are a great stress for
They
children.
continue to evoke, no matter how much you simplify them, they still continue to, evoke fear and dread among students.
Yes. Among children,
yes.
Small children.
And in our institution profile section, again, two very high potential institutions.
Revolutionary.
The MS Dhoni Global School, which promises to be a sports focused.
Yes, MS Dhoni has gone into education. That's the real, not in a small way either. The MS Dhoni Global School in Hosur on the Karnataka
Tamil Nadu
border is now operational, and inevitably it's going to be sports focused and integrated and a highly promising kind of initiative where children will perhaps have a much more enjoyable education than board exams all the time.
Indeed.
University of Hull, UK is also profiled.
Yes, and now we come to our cover story, the Education World India Higher Education Rankings 2024-25, which profile India's top 500 arts, science and commerce colleges.
And engineering.
Yes, and engineering colleges. And
these are all undergraduate colleges. In part two, coming up next month, will be rating and ranking universities.
Yes, the top 300 universities as well as private B schools.
Yes. So this is our ranking of India's top.
Yes.
I mean, Indian higher education is perhaps in a bad shape because none of our universities and higher education institutions are ranked in the top 200 worldwide by QS or Times Higher Education, despite some of them being 150 years old.
Indeed.
So in a way, our rankings are perhaps the best of a bad lot.
Yes. And most importantly, Dilip, in keeping in line with, the education world philosophy of never to compare apples with oranges.
Yes.
Again, in the broad category of arts, science and commerce colleges, we've categorized colleges into private autonomous. Now, private autonomous are colleges which have been granted autonomy by the UGC, administrative as well as academic autonomy. So this places them, in a
different slot
of their
perhaps
own.
A higher grade. Yes.
And then the next one is government institutions, government colleges, which have also been granted autonomy.
Yes.
And the third category is non-autonomous colleges, but quite, paradoxically, the non-autonomous colleges are all colleges affiliated to Delhi University.
Yeah.
As you know, Delhi University is a central university which refuses to give autonomy to its colleges. So St. Stephen's College, Miranda House, Sri Ram College of Commerce, Lady Sri Ram College are all in the
some of the best known colleges and most respected colleges are in fact non-autonomous
category.
So it's a very complex system.
Yes.
I think it needs to be simplified.
But nevertheless, all these colleges have been ranked inter se in their own distinctive categories, and it's a wealth of information done across 6 parameters, including competence of faculty, faculty welfare and development, leadership and governance, research and innovation, etc. And this year, Dilip, we have a very high-powered, we've partnered with a very high-powered market research firm, AZ Research Partners Private Limited. It's, led by IIM Ahmedabad, IIM Lucknow alumni, IIT Bombay, etc. Very high profile. So they interviewed 2,100 higher education faculty and industry representatives across 28 states.
And they ranked every college, undergraduate college, on the 6 parameters which Summiya mentioned, and the scores awarded by this sample respondents targeted sample respondents were added up to get a total, and they were ranked and rated according to the total.
Yes.
It's a sophisticated exercise.
Yes. So you'll find in this issue not just the national table, but also state tables, parameter-wise tables, so you can see which colleges are, say, for example, excellent in curriculum and pedagogy, which college is number one for placements. So apart from the national table, we also have state tables as well as parameter-wise rankings.
And the important thing about the parameter tables is they're across. Am I right?
Indeed.
Yes. And they're not ranked in silos. So that's a very, very important contribution of our rankings to the general knowledge of students.
Indeed. And our next thing is, Dilip, next up is Letter from America, written by Dr. Larry Ahn, who's the president of Hillsdale College. And he talks about...
and is a highly known, well-known public intellectual in the United States, and perhaps an authority on, who's written several volumes on the life and times of Winston Churchill in particular. And he's a scholar, writer, and authority and public intellectual.
So his article this time, essay, is, in praise of charter schools.
Yes. Charter school is a concept unknown in India, but perhaps we ought to look at it very carefully. So broadly speaking, it's about government schools which are handed over to NGOs and private organizations to run, but with the government paying the
per student fee.
Yeah.
In our teacher to teacher section this time, we have quite an insightful and informative article on the rising importance of learning experience designers.
I think the important thing we ought to tell them is this is written by a professor in one of France's
top schools.
B schools.
Excelsior Business School.
Our title is Education World. So we get inputs and articles from around the world, top people, educationists around the world.
Indeed.
And this is one example of that. Dr. Larry Ahn's Letter from America is another one. And this teacher to teacher
by Anthony He.
Anthony He, who's a professor in the Excelsior Business School in France.
Yes. And the other segment of our higher education rankings, part 1, like I said before, is on engineering institutions. So we've ranked India's top 100 private engineering institutions, in fact about 150 private engineering institutions. Dilip, here there's a very important distinction. We have not ranked, purposefully we have not ranked the government IITs and NITs. I'll let you tell the reason why.
Yes, well, firstly, everybody knows they're highly subsidized. And secondly, is that
highly
selective. And only 2% of some million people who write the exam actually get admitted.
Yes.
So we felt if it's such a narrow admission process, it's hardly, the huge majority of people have to select colleges other than the IIT. So we've ranked them.
Yes.
And we've eliminated all government and subsidized institutions.
Yes. So again, very interesting, sample poll here. Higher education faculty and industry representative. Again, engineering institutions have been ranked on several parameters of excellence, including research and innovation, placements, faculty welfare and development, internationalism, value for money, etc. Again, here we have a national league table, we have state tables, and most importantly, we have parameter-wise tables which tell you which are the best engineering institutions
under each parameter. Yes. So that's, in my opinion, that's perhaps the most important part of the rankings, where we evaluate them under each parameter and without any distinctions about whether government, private, or etc.
Yes. And in our book review section, we've got again 2 very insightful book reviews. The first one is on the HPOP phenomenon. To expand this abbreviation, this is Hindutva pop. How in the rural hinterland, Hindutva pop is changing the entire rural landscape in terms of the political impact they're making.
It's a propaganda machine. A propaganda machine designed perhaps by the Hindutva forces in the economy for the new internet age. And the second book is this well publicized book by Raghuram Rajan, former governor of the Reserve Bank, and Rohit Lamba, where they talk about the Indian economy, where it's titled "Breaking the Mold: Reimagining India's Economic Future." Interesting. And
a postscript section.
our most well read page, which is our last page, Postcript, where it's a mix of editorial and reporting, where we talk about the first one is about the inequality lab, the growing inequality in the country, reported by the Paris-based World Inequality Lab. Well, according to me, I've written this page, is that don't blame capitalism. Inequality is not because of capitalism, but because of our poor education system.
Yes.
And then I've taken one pot shot at the public sector enterprises, and then again about the emergence of the Netflix
Yes.
phenomenon, the OTT films, how
Yes,
they've been,
and how they've radically changed India's entertainment landscape.
yeah. And in particular, we talked about a movie called 12th Fail, in which the issue of not teaching children English is highlighted, and the severe consequences for people when they go for government interview for government jobs in the UPSC, and they're interviewed in English.
Indeed.
So that's this time's education world. I think, as usual, a rich fare. We all want you to join our fraternity and subscribe to the magazine, read it, and perhaps create a national debate. There's insufficient debate on this vital issue of education. Unless we have education reform, we really can't make it. We are not going to join the League of Developed Countries.
Indeed. But before we go, what's in store for parents in our Parents World section?
Yes.
So in our Parents World magazine, this time we've done a very important, timely magazine story. This is on minding children through the long, hot summer. It's just the beginning of summer and temperatures are shooting, and children are more vulnerable to the heat, to heat stroke, to dehydration, etc. So we have interviewed very highly qualified pediatricians and health experts who tell you how to mind your children during the hot, long summer.
So they have a good holiday and don't fall ill. Then
Yes, especially important during summer, Dilip, because the summer holidays have also begun, and it's very likely that children are going to spend more time outdoors than
yes,
usually.
Indeed. There are several other stories: why and when to introduce solid foods for infants, educating teens, very important subject.
Yes.
About online dating dangers. Yes. Then managing children's temper tantrums. The idea of publishing, I think we have to tell our readers of both these magazines, is that education happens not only in school, it must also happen at home. After all, children spend only about 7 to 8 hours per day of a 24-hour day in school. The rest of the time they're at home, so they also need to be educated at home. And Parents World is our contribution to help children to help children have a better...
develop into young, confident adults.
Yes, indeed. Yes, you got me. Searching for words. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And have a good, long, hot summer.
Keep cool.